Hey, hey.
I almost immediately clicked in stream because it's the same as the go live button.
And end stream.
Yeah. You're live, you're not live. All right. So,
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our EZD6 playset
Martian
building.
Stone, maybe.
Martian Stone.
All right. And there's Blaze and Austin. Time for more stoned moss.
And Austin, man, look at those guys
Yeah.
coming
So,
in.
this week, a little different for a couple reasons. One being Jacob only has an hour today at max, so we kind of have to zip through this. But last week, we were kind of getting to a point, or, well, I guess week before last, technically. We kind of got to a point where we were him-hawing around and kind of like having to stop and think too much. We were getting a little more into the nitty-gritty. And then last week, all I did was kind of come up with some items and hammer home tinker tools a little bit. It was getting kind of slow, so we decided we're at the point where we just need to do some work offline, get our hands dirty in the nitty gritty part, the less entertaining part, but still lots of work that needs done. So we met up this week, got some of that done, worked on some stuff, and that's what we're going to recap today. We're going to go over what we solidified and then what we're looking to get into. But I will say, even though it's farther down the list of things to do, there will be no stream next week because I have some family in town. Plus, Jacob's starting up something that's going to make him a little extra busy. So we decided we're going to take that week off. But that gives us 2 weeks to work to meet up, or 2 times to meet up offline and work on jobs and specializations, which is the super duper nitty gritty and the meat of this pretty much. So we hope to have a lot to show the following week after that. We'll be able to show off a bunch of cool classes and specializations. You just vomited up ideas and Scrap wrote it down. Yeah, see, now we got to make it work. And I was telling somebody yesterday, we've been doing the throw everything at the wall. And
Yeah,
that's,
we have a lot of spaghetti.
That's a ton of fun. But now me and Jacob are having to kind of filter through and see what's sticking to the wall and what's falling on the floor. So,
I felt like our meeting earlier this week, we actually, I felt like it was productive. I felt like it was helped. I know for you start getting all that spaghetti, it gets a little overwhelming, and I felt like we did a good job at putting certain things where it was supposed to go and just kind of putting the puzzle pieces together. And
yes.
I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, I think it's beautiful what we've got going on.
Yep. I don't feel like it's a lot to show, but we'll see how long it takes to get through it. But it did help because we had stuff everywhere and we're getting it, in one document and filtering out the ideas that didn't work and what did work. So the first thing was, let's see, supplies. And I have a text file that I'll probably be looking at and reading over, but it's kind of hard for y'all to see, so I'm not even going to try and show it. But so supplies, what is as set in stone as can be until we figure out a reason it doesn't work, is that you each settle. Okay, so I gotta back up. We have supplies are something that you need, right? It's similar to Wasted World, but we stripped it down even more to make it even simpler. There's not a limit how much of supplies you can have, but because you're never going, well, unless you get incredibly lucky, you'll end up with more, but it's most likely you don't even have to worry about a limit because you won't be getting that many. So you get supplies by going to different safe zones. So, which is the next thing on the list. In the safe zones, if y'all remember, we talked about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 safe zones. Tier 3, we have decided that we're probably going to be more on the rare side, but of course that is up to the GM. You could be in a very well-off area of the world. Beautiful wall spaghetti. We love it. It's set in moss, right? There's still a little wiggle room; it might move. That's a good way of looking at it.
That's a fantastic way of putting it.
Yep. So safe zones, and this defining the safe zones helped kind of define our lore and setting. So the safe zones, all the animals, well, not all the animals you're playing as and what are in these safe zones are all kind of in this together. So they will willingly give you supplies. They will willingly give you the tinker tools that we're going to talk about in a little bit. They are very much, as the name implies, a safe zone. now. There are other animals out there like the birds and the lizards and everything that we will encounter. Which a whole other can of worms that we got into the other day.
So true.
Yeah. So supplies, one supply feeds your party for the day, takes care of broken equipment, helps you maintain stuff. It's food, water, arrows if you have a missile type of weapon. Let's see it. I think that's what they cover now. Each day you are allowed to roll for basically a free supply. Once a day you get that roll, and it has to be a 6. It's just 1d6, so a fairly low chance. But if you, depending on the environment, the GM can boons or banes as needed. Middle of the desert, there's probably not much. Near a junkyard, hey, you might find some extra supplies for your weapons and stuff. But one supply is abstract, like Wasted World. We took that part. So, and then each tier of settlement or safe zone will give you X number of supplies. So I believe tier 1 was just 2 supplies. Let's see.
Yes, it is.
Yep. 2 supplies.
Tier 2 is the 4, and then tier 3 is the 10 supplies.
But if you're in tier 1 where you get 2 supplies, if you already have 3 supplies, they will not give you anything. That is, they bring you up to that number. And that's why I was saying we didn't bother putting a limit on how much you can carry, because you're probably not going to go that high. If you hit 3 tier 1 safe zones back to back to back, you will not get 2, 4, 6. You will just stay at 2. So what makes certain safe areas different from others? That would be what's living in it. So the safe ones are the types of animals we play as, where there might be settlements that are all reptiles or something. That's not a safe zone. There might be an area. I don't know if birds would have their own. Maybe they could have like tree houses or something. That'd be kind of neat.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And that would not be a safe zone. Safe zones are where you're welcome. It is an established community of various sizes, but the community that you're welcome in. So that is how that's how supplies work. And when you're in a safe zone, you don't burn up supplies. You're very safe in a safe zone, and that's how you restore your health if you don't have any other things.
I'm laughing at Austin.
You're not tier 2 unless you like and subscribe. Yeah,
Like and subscribe.
So I'm gonna check these off here. Let's see. So that is supplies, and I think we talked about safe zones pretty good. So Tinker Tools, you guys were here last week, saw me trying to make some of those. So Tinker Tools,
Can we pause for 1 second and go back a little bit to the safe zones?
Sure.
Just to make sure we're answering Austin Walker's question too. And tier is size, right? So for more an example, like tier 3 is your metropolis essentially. And now how that looks is up to you. What'd you say?
Well, I was gonna say it's rare, like very well established.
Correct. Hence why it's a metropolis. It's been there for a while, and I just hi Galaxy Fox Nights guy. I just want, so they're it's like exponential. Like your tier 1's like a little camp that's got a protected area that's done a good job at maintaining. Of course, whatever the GM wants to flavor it as, where the T2 is kind of like your village, more established, and then you have the tier 3, which is the metropolis. And I wanted to, when we were discussing it, I liked the idea that and it fits with the resupplying supplies. The metropolis has a lot more abundance of supplies, where so it all tying in, and then now going into the Tinker Tools, thinking about that. Go ahead and take it over.
Okay. I was gonna say it might be better to say the tier is a definition of quality. So like you could have a tier 1 settlement in the middle of a desert, and there's several houses and several people, but they don't have beans for supplies. So that's why they're still a tier 1.
That's true. That's true.
So that's another way you can look at it. Yeah. Tinker Tools. Yes. So Tinker Tools are just an additional item. As far as regular items like pythons and rope and stuff, that's very similar to EZD6. It's just whatever's in your bag, very loosey-goosey, however many you want to carry. We didn't want to fiddle with inventory slots, but the Tinker Tool is something a little more special. It's essentially a mechanical contraption that makes 0 sense and would not function in the real world, but is just something the animals have cobbled together. So one would be the extendo staff. It's a staff that extends to the height of you down to about the height of your hand or your forearm or something like that. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just something that you can get. You can only carry one tinker tool on your character. And the idea behind them is not to say this applies a boon to such and such. This gives you this. It's just a weird item that the players can come up with weird ways to use. And, you know, the GM can say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Here's a boon for that. But nothing's written in stone, pun intended. So they're very, I don't want to say they're very loosey-goosey because they definitely have a definition to them, but you do have to come up with creative ways to use them. It's just a extra layer. And then the quality of the tier of the settlement or whatever, tier 1, 2, and 3, will determine what tinker tools you get. Now, remind me, Jacob, we were shooting for 18 tools, right?
Our goal is to design 18 unique tools.
Yes. All right, let me get to tinker tools. So we were going to do... Right. Each tier has an incremental 6. So tier 1 only has 6 tools. Tier 2 has 12 tools, but it includes the 6 of tier 1 plus the 6 of theirs, and then tier 3 has 18 tools, which includes all of them. So naturally, tier 1 tinker tools are going to be kind of hit or miss. I don't really want to make bad tools because I want everything to have some kind of use. But as you get into tier 3, it will very clearly, well, maybe not very clearly, but it will be more complex of a mechanism. Like we talked about the wing glider, that would be a tier 3 safe zone.
I love the wing glider. I don't know why.
I think what we're going to do though is, so if you're in tier 1, you have to roll 1d6 to see what you get. If you're in tier 2, you can pick anything from the tier 1 that you want or roll in tier 2. And then in tier 3, you can pick anything from 1 and 2 or roll for something in tier 3. So there's just a little bit of randomness, but as you get into a higher quality safe zone, you have your pick of the litter there for a tinker tool. Yeah. I know. We're just punning it up today, aren't we? So
the thing is your pun got me. I had a whole thought process. As we're explaining it, obviously it seems like a lot because we're just talking, we're trying to explain it, but we're gonna have a decent little chart, right, Scrat? We're gonna have a nice chart in there to help spread it out and stuff like that too. So
yeah, the instructions, like I said, we got a work document that it sounds like a lot, but it's very condensed, and it's just like, oh, this is how this works. This is how this works. Like, it's not anything complicated. It's so far building very well onto EZD6's basic mechanics, and we haven't dipped into Wasted World too much. Like we went for the supplies, and then we brought it down to basic EZD6 levels of simplicity.
I actually feel like we ended up not using. It was more of an idea board in a way.
The supplies or Wasted World?
Wasted World.
Yeah. We are going to be.
This is going to definitely have a different feel than Wasted World.
The Wasted World paths, hero paths, or whatever they're calling that one, definitely influenced how ours work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
We took that.
That's
concept.
what I'm saying. We pulled a lot of influence from it, but this is not going to feel quite as like survival.
Yeah. A lot of the mechanics didn't make it with it.
That's a good way.
Austin's already off for a walk. Lurking while I walk the dog, won't be able to chat. But listen, all right. Everybody likes walking the dog. There's a blue jet.
Walking a dog.
A jetpack? No, not quite a jetpack. That's a little too fancy. Unless it's like a one-time use jetpack, it's just an explosion. Or it's like made out of acorns, so you use it once and it just catches on fire and burns.
Good old acorns.
All right, so that's Tinker Tools, and we do want to have an engineering class. We have talked about that, so there would be a specialization for Tinker Tools, and like they'll probably be able to carry 2 of them or something. That's still on the board. Whisper Stones. Now, we worked on those a little last week in Jacob's absence. think he had internet troubles. I think that's what it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So Whisper Stones are basically scrolls from EZD6 with a couple twists. Now, when you find a Whisper Stone, you do not know what it does until you take it to a tier 2 or 3. That was one thing we changed. It was just tier 3. But if you take it to a tier 2 or 3 settlement, safe zone, I keep calling settlements, you can have it identified and they'll tell you what it does. It's like, okay, this casts a fireball. This makes you levitate, whatever. Whisper Stones are how you will get magic in this world. That is as magical as things will get. When you use a Whisper Stone, it's toast. It's gone. Like, it is drained of all its power. It is no more. Now,
Jacob pictured it turning into actual toast. Sorry.
poof, and then yeah, you can eat it. Fireball is just an exploding backpack. Yeah, man. So that's Whisper Stone. Like I said, just like a scroll in that regard. We will have a specialization. I think it's the priest for the student class. Has a chance to not consume a Whisper Stone when used. Like if they roll a 6, I think it is. That's obviously still in the works. But the idea is they have a way to potentially preserve a Whisper Stone for extra use. And the student class, which is the base for all those other specializations, they can identify a Whisper Stone on the spot. As soon as they get it, they will be able to say, oh, this does such and such. Now,
Yes.
we also, flavor-wise, added the fact that Whisper Stones can be heard while you're out adventuring. They have a whisper, very similar to the moss monsters, which are called hollow tongues. But you only hear the whispers at night. So you have to go out at night when it's more dangerous to hunt for Whisper Stones. And
We did change that.
yeah, and the student, what we want to do, it might be the student class, as part of their ability to identify what Whisper Stones are. They will be able to tell the difference in the whisper between a Whisper Stone and a hollow tongue. So you won't get, say, follow the whisper and accidentally come across a hollow tongue.
That was the rabbit, right?
No, the rabbit can just hear. Oh, was it the rabbit? Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. It's not the class. The rabbit could hear super far away and tell the difference between. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's the species we'll be getting into in a minute. So that was my mistake. All right. Predator rating. I think you guys are pretty up to date. That hasn't changed. We just went over it and finalized everything. Everybody has a predator rating, and I think that is what we're calling it now, is predator rating, not predator roll or predator offense or whatever. It's just predator rating. So everybody has one. It's very similar to the magic resistance in basic EZD6. Now, the way we're going to do it is every time a fight starts, normally EZD6 has no initiative. It's just players go first, then all the enemies. In this one, we're adding half an initiative, basically. Whoever has the highest predator rating will roll their however many d6s, and then whatever enemy has the highest predator rating will do the same. Whoever wins that roll gets to go, their side of the force gets to go first. But that also allows you access to predator abilities only if you win that roll. So if the snake has like a predator ability to venom strike and paralyze or something like that, they can only do that if they win the predator roll. The hollow tongues are going to ignore that. All their abilities are just nasty, and you cannot use karma on them. So you want to avoid hollow tongues.
They're terrifying.
Yeah, that is the idea. So
if anyone hasn't seen the video with when Scrat's playing with Peter there with the Oilers, that's
same concept.
kind of concept, yeah.
Yeah. And then predator abilities for players, we want to have a list that they can, right? It's just a list they can pick from, whatever they want. They pick one, I think.
Correct.
That's the current idea, is pick one ability.
Yeah, we're not fully done with that because we talked about the badger possibly having one or being able to pick an extra one.
Yeah, maybe the species might have specific ones.
Correct.
And then,
but it doesn't matter. You still, when you win it, you gain access to using one of your predator abilities.
Yeah. So like, here's some of that we wrote down. It's like, when landing the finishing blow with a melee attack, restore one strike. It's like in the sense you eat them. Predator ability, you can attack twice, or you can gain a temp strike once per fight, a taunt, make the enemy focus on you, intimidate, boon to defense rolls, so forth and so on. So just a little bonus for winning that, and some are limited, like, hey, this only triggers once per fight, so if you win the roll over and over and over again, you're not overpowered. So that is Predator rating. And then species. So this is where I kind of wish I had something to put on the board, but
we can copy paste what we have.
Let's see how it looks.
Okay.
I
enjoy talking about the species. I mean, so when I first was talking about this with Scrat, and I love Redwall, so that was where I kind of got the idea for what we're doing here, and we were chatting away, and the species is what sticks out to me. I always love the little Mises running around, or whatever creatures. My favorite's the badger. I always like their whole story and stuff. So we wanted the species to be a bigger deal than they are in vanilla EZD6. So we've come up with some kind of fun ideas. It gives them a little bit more, but it's not like overpowered or broken, right?
Yeah. So do
Where
you want
are
to
you?
go through? Oh, I'm sorry. I moved up. I zoomed out and went to a blank spot. To the right a
I
little
got you.
bit. Yeah.
All right, squirrel. So, first one on the list, as we should have done because of Scrat, is the squirrel. And so we gave them perfect landing, being able to jump from any height, and they will take no fall damage. Of course, if they're pushed, knocked off, or forced off in any sort of way, they still there's a chance they might get hurt, and so they have to roll, which is kind of makes sense. Like, if I shove you off, you're gonna have less time to react, right?
Yep. But it's very low chance. Like,
Very low chance.
yep.
And then you have the expert climber, boon to climbing actions. One, of course, you have to be using all four limbs. You're able to move across surfaces if you are using all four limbs at any position, such as running upside down on the ceiling or across the walls. Now, you can climb a regular surface and still get that boon if you're not on all fours. The if using all fours gets you the moving across any surface, correct?
Say again.
The caveat of if using all four limbs. So if I was to climb a tree while holding a sword, I would still get the boon. But if I want to climb on the bottom of the tree branch, I have to use all four limbs.
Right. When you get in the weird position, yeah, that's kind of to basically say you're not Spider-Man. But like, if you've seen squirrels, like, they just go across a wall. It's like, all right. And there's maybe a marble wall, a smooth marble wall. The GM might say, eh.
At the end of the day, it's always in the GM's hands, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So there's our squirrel.
And then we have the moose.
Hey, Michelle's in chat.
Whoa.
Hi, Michelle. The mouse, the forger. The mouse to me is this. They're tiny. They're kind of cute, I guess, if you're into them. I'm just kidding. But it is one of the staple ancestries or species within Redwall. I'd say they're probably one of the most common. So they, of course, had to make it in here. And when making your rolls for supplies for the day, the mouse will always bring back something. This could be the skull of a rat, indicating that there is a threat nearby, or a freshly filled water skin, suggesting that there's a water source. This one's really fun because you can leave it in the GM's hand. The thing is, they have to bring something, and it has to be some kind of somewhat useful, right? But that is a lot of fun. The idea is that mice are very good at gathering and finding things and collecting things. And we like the idea. Now, we didn't want to make it so where they automatically get supplies, because that would diminish the mechanic of the supplies altogether. Because
that's how they started. They started with a boon to it, and then that
is what we were going to do originally. But I like the direction we're heading, because this also allows the story element of driving something forward, or creating a new situation, or an optional side quest too, which is really kind of fun. And then, of course, the mouse is small, and due to their small stature, they're able to squeeze into places where most couldn't fit, which also grants them a boon to hiding.
Mm-hmm. And that's,
So
say we
go ahead.
talked about a rat instead, but that removed the tiny perk because rats
It
are
would, yeah.
really good at collecting things.
They absolutely are. But
All right.
we found where we wanted to be with that, I think.
Yeah, we did.
And obviously, this is not the final writing, but this is the direction we're going with everything. So
Yeah.
there'll be formatting and stuff later, but we're just trying to share with you guys what we're officially coming up with.
Hedgehog.
Hedgehog.
It's Glee's
Sharp,
favorite.
pointy. Oh, is it?
I think so.
That's funny. On a successful save, they're spiky. You roll a d6 on a successful armor save. Sorry. On a 6, you damage your enemy for 1 strike. Of course, it only applies to melee. They're not throwing quills. There's a cat head. And then grapple free. When an enemy attempts to grapple you, you get to roll with a boon during the exchange of your dice. You get to roll with a boon because obviously getting pricked while grappling somebody hurts.
A little bit.
I mean, I don't know. I've never really tried grappling a hedgehog or porcupine.
So are hedgehogs really that prickly?
Well, that's what I was just thinking. Maybe they're not as. I have an indoor picnic with the kids is the best. Oh, have an indoor picnic.
All right, otters is still, we got a floating perk or whatever you want to call these. So right now they have aquatic aspirations, which is a boon to swimming and other non-combat things you would be doing underwater. So like if there's levers to move or you're trying to grab items or maybe grapple somebody, something like that, you're able to do everything at an advantageous state while underwater. And you can also hold your breath for a very long time, probably as long as you'll ever need. And then underwater movement, if you are fighting underwater while you're fully submerged, you will have a boon on your armor save. And these are both really, really good, but they are very, what is the word I'm looking for? Niche or dependent on you having a water environment to play the game in, which you know, how often do you get to do that in your game? So the floating perk we have for them is going to be Tinker Tool related, but the reason it's floating right now is because we have to define the other jobs and specializations, and we know we want an engineer one that has some Tinker Tool perks with it. So we're waiting to see what comes out of that to make sure we don't like step on toes. So there will be, I'm actually going to put it on there, floating Tinker Tool perk. And the reason we want to give that to the otter is because they tend to use rocks in the real world, kind of like tools and stuff to smash other things open. So it kind of made sense. That was Jacob's logic, and I agreed with it.
It was because I like the idea of their, their ingenuity in the natural world of, cracking those rocks open. So I thought, why not incorporate that?
Yeah. And then we have the big boy. Big boy.
Badger.
The badger. It's honey badger don't care. That boosts your predator rating by 1, which means another d6 you get to roll, which is very nice. I wonder if it'd be better to say you like re-roll 1s or something, but that's what the priest has. Anyway,
interesting.
This is what we have.
So yeah,
the reason for that.
The thing here is set in stone. It's set in moss. But
yeah, that's true. Set in moss.
I love it.
Otters are going to be a fan fave for sure. Yeah, they're really cool, and I love the idea of the underwater stuff. But like, I mean, even the character I made in Jacob's Pathfinder game we have on Fridays, like he's got some water perks, but there's no water. I got to use him once. I did use him once. But it was very quick.
I love that. I love what you named it. Beefy. He gains a strike.
Yeah.
They are the biggest of the races that we have to be playable right now. Then there's also strong. He gains a boon to strength-related tasks, which is a cool roleplay moment option. So.
Yeah. So the badger, we really just leaned into the size. Now, for sizes, we are shrinking big ones and growing little ones, so everybody's essentially on the same playing field. It doesn't make sense, but fantasy game. It'll be okay. So, but we did lean into the badger being the biggest.
Arguably, there's not a lot of sizes in EZD6. So
yeah, that's the thing.
Roleplay wise, clearly the otters and badgers are going to be much bigger than the mice, but it isn't going to be the point where it's like overpoweringly so.
Yeah. Now, we'll say, old Grognard came through, I was in the comments or something. He mentioned that there was an older Star Wars game that has a really cool way of making sizes actually impactful. And I forgot how it worked. It was very simple, but it was, like as you get bigger, you're easier to hit or something. And, it was a very easy, simple scale to go with. And
That's how Savage Worlds is.
yeah, it sounded
Very
super
simple.
cool.
Like you get a bonus. The size differences give bonuses.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to you getting
But
bigger
that could
and
also
larger.
just be a GM caveat too. Like,
Yep. All right. So the next one, Honey Badger, he was good and simple. Mole, you can burrow, of course, because Mole gives you boon to all digging tasks and can not only dig much faster than anyone else, but you can burrow yourself completely underground. So, if you're in a panicky situation, the Mole can like get down. Whereas, everybody you play as can obviously dig. Everybody's got claws, but like the Mole can do it very quickly and potentially get out of danger. Blind sense. So this one means the darkness has no effect on you. We didn't go with making the Mole have a hard time seeing in sunlight. We just decided, you can essentially see in the dark. It does not cripple you whatsoever, whereas it may other people. The Mole may need a little extra love, but I don't know, because not being affected by darkness could be pretty nice. Like, especially,
and one of the things. Oh God.
I was gonna say, especially when you're out at night hunting for whisper stones. That could come in big time handy. That and the rabbit with the ears, which I think is next. But what were you about to say?
No, with the Mole, I thought maybe about adding some kind of like, boon to underground activities or something. But we're not quite there. I do think it is. But burrowing can be really powerful, right? So, because you could just like burrow under a freaking fence, so it's that weird. It could be a useless thing, but it also could be extremely helpful. So
Yeah.
But hedgehog, no, you're not doing it. I did hedgehog.
No, I just copied the text. The hare is next. The hare. So lucky rabbit feet. You get to your miraculous saves get to roll with a boon, which is really strong. And then big-eared, you have exceptional hearing and can hear the whispers of a hollow tongue long before anybody else, allowing you plenty of time to stay out of danger. And you can also tell the difference between the whispers of a whisper stone and hollow tongue, like we mentioned earlier. So unintentionally, the hares would be like your min-maxers optimal pick for the priest class. Or specialization. They would slot kind of like the badger. Obviously it would be a good barbarian type of build with his extra strikes and strength stuff. So that is the species. Now remember, species is your first pick. Then you have to pick a job, which allows you access to other specializations, but you can just stay at the job level and then get extra inclinations of your choice. Or you can go into a specialization for specific, specialized perks for that, and then get a couple extra inclinations on top of that. So you can shake it up how you want. Where is my to-do list?
Down below.
Showcase species. We did that. All right. So that's right. I almost forgot. So the community vote. We have, that is 7, right? And just before stream, let's see, 6, 7. Yep. Just before stream, I was joking about the platypus. And then it's like, he could be the jack of all trades, because we want somebody, it's like, okay, I just want to make whatever I want. Because the platypus, he's like 10 different species in one, right? It's a weird thing. So we might add that, the platypus, just as like a blank slate. It's probably going to be too strong if we say, all right, you get 2 special perks or whatever, but you can pick them from any of the other species. And then we're like, well, a platypus crawling like a squirrel might be a bit much. So we're thinking maybe the platypus doesn't get animal specific bonuses like everybody else, but gets extra inclinations. We might do that. But if there
We have a
is,
duck. We have a duck in chat. No.
we do have a duck. That's a bird. We can't use that. But we are willing to add one more. We thought it would be neat, ignoring the platypus. We'll add him one way or the other probably. We wanted to see if there was another animal that people wanted to add in. So I'm throwing it out there. You guys can throw out a ton of suggestions, whatever you want. And if I see some common ground, what I'm going to do is pick the common ones, and then I will make a YouTube community post with 4 as much as I can do. That's as much as YouTube will let me do. So I'll pick 4 from y'all's suggestions, and then we'll try and make it work. And we'll see what people vote for. And obviously, whatever gets the most votes, that's what we'll try and add in. Now, the way I'm going to do that is I will mention it here like I just did. But I know a lot of people come and watch these streams after, so instead of posting immediately after the stream, I will probably wait a week or 2 before I make that poll. Probably a week, because then people will forget otherwise.
Which also fits the fact that we're taking next week.
Right.
Stream.
That's
so
actually a good point. So you guys can vote while we're off. Yeah. So next week we will be out, like I said, but we'll be cranking out some jobs and specializations. The jobs, we're happy with what we have, minus the lack of engineer. Might throw a bard type of thing in there. That is to be determined. And also during that, specialization and job figuring out stuff, we're going to be figuring out our potions and poisons too, because that's what we were going to do last week, but internet issues occurred. So we're going to hammer that out first, and that'll determine the remaining jobs and specializations we have. So
sorry,
PTO
we're being
request
denied.
Oh no, Peter, I burned out. This is my burnout period, right? We did the sprint. It's time for a rest. Like we talked about.
Is that how that works?
I don't. My sprint never stops.
Okay.
Nobody told me there was a finish line, so I just kept going. I just ran right off the track.
All right, Forrest.
I still haven't watched that movie. Did you know that?
No?
No,
I did
I've
not
never
know that.
seen it.
Interesting.
All right. So that is, I think that's everything. That is the plan. We'll have the vote. You guys start throwing out suggestions. As far as the world goes, we have decided lizards are the bad guys, generally just because they're the predator. Birds are mixed. They're essentially can be paid off. We talked about the idea of some safe zones / settlements having a bird of prey that they offer tribute to, and then it only eats reptiles and whatnot, and leaves them alone. Some fun stuff you can do there, but that's all very game dependent, how you want to run stuff. That's your world. You do it how you want. But all that to say, we will not have a bird as a playable species. Mostly because you have to deal with
mammals. It's not mostly mammals.
Mammals, yeah.
So
between mice and otter size, we'll say the badger was already pushing it. So.
It was, but we had to have a badger.
Yeah, but Glee, I was talking to her yesterday, and she had a very heavy vote for weasels or something related to that.
What a weasel!
Yeah, little tunnel and snaky thing. So
I said what a weasel. I was calling her a weasel.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, you're just. I think we're going to be adding platypus.
Well, we'll add platypus, but that's on top of whatever community folks come up with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely. Galaxy. I mean, talk to your GM when you play this, and maybe he'll let you play a white owl.
Now, I don't think he's in the chat today, but remember, Twice Dead Mage is the reason we have Twice Dead Swamp, and we had talked about a hollow tongue owl that brought creatures there and dumped them in the swamp and turned them into moss creatures. So
it's terrifying.
Yeah,
it's so terrifying.
Yeah, man, you get to die twice. So what are, other than weasels, what are some other than maybe rats, if we could find a different use for them? I don't know if they'd be too similar to mice.
Capybara.
That's too big. That's bigger than the honey badger. Oh, what are those Australian quokkas that like don't have any instincts because nobody eats them?
That's true.
Yeah.
Suggestion, Squirrel. I think you already know Obsidian. I saw Excalibur completely to organize all of his stuff. Making suggestions. I love it.
Yeah, I am familiar with Obsidian. I'm not
So-
surprised it has a Excalibur add-in for it. It has add-in for
I'm not
everything.
surprised either. That's cool. I'll have to go look at that because I like Obsidian.
Yeah. I was looking at
Uh,
Trillium the other day. That's another markdown note-taking thing, and it had Excalibur built into it.
Scaledraws getting around everywhere. Town bicycle. What about pygmy possums?
Possums. Oh.
They're pretty cool.
That's just your only ability is to play dead, but has the potential to fool moss monsters. It's like that's actually pretty strong.
Because there's guinea pigs, gerbils, kangaroo rats, lemmings.
Ooh, I kind of like the idea of possums.
I know. I actually really like the idea of possums too.
Swords and
There's all the
stones.
weasels, stoats, high swords and stones. There's a lot of them out there. Just gotta think of them all. What's that? We don't have a raccoon. It's a little big though.
A raccoon, that badger size, isn't it?
Armadillo.
A lot of extra defense.
Yeah, I know. Oh, a meerkat. We could do meerkats.
So,
Skunk.
ooh,
But this is for you guys to vote. A raccoon rogue. Yeah.
I never could figure out the name, but there is this animal that you'll see clips of floating around the internet. It's one of those animals like you have to get special licenses for and you're not supposed to have and all that. But it's like this big and it's just this fuzzy little kind of lanky thing. But they're stupidly hyperactive. Like when they're awake, they're just 90 miles an hour running up the walls. They're furry. You've got little fangs in them. Super friendly when you train them, but I cannot. Chipmunk paladin.
I'm not sure.
I cannot remember what those things are called, but it's
the
right.
Technically, go ahead.
I was just saying it's about the right size. So
Okay. If you can find out what they're called, we can put them in the list. There is the what's it called? Oh, the chinchilla.
ooh,
Technically, like a little brown bat would be a small mammal. I know.
bat.
I know. I know. I said bat. I know.
Wait, was that you that said that the other day, or was that Glee?
It was not me.
That must have
but
been Glee. And I said I don't want to deal with wings and flying.
technically, a bat is a mammal,
Yeah.
so it would fit what we're going for. Cat bug, though he would be too OP.
I'm looking up hyperactive animals. Apparently, beavers are hyperactive.
Makes sense. They probably just never stop, right?
Yeah, they just don't move fast.
They're scary as all get out, though. Like my brother's a diver, underwater welder, and they were working in a pipeline, and a beaver they would charge and attacked a couple of the divers, and they actually had to pull the whole process until they brought an animal specially to move the beaver. Because they're extremely territorial, and you're in their territory, they're going to rip you to shreds.
Top 10 most energetic animals, and sea otters are right in the middle.
Are they?
Yeah, I am not finding.
Sea otters are so cool, in my opinion. Just like their ingenuity, their family, their the way they love each other.
Here are some of the most energetic animals on the planet. Squirrels.
Squirrels.
Man, what is that little thing called?
I'm not sure. You have a clip of it?
No. So let's just ask Google. What is that small furry creature that has a ton of energy.
You mean children? I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah. Let's see. This is
There's so
gonna
many
buy.
animals
I
out there.
meant to look this up last night. Um,
A wombat?
a wombat would be cool. I love wombats, but aren't they
They're
huge?
I think they're big. Well, I didn't know wombats can run 25 miles an hour. Holy crap. That's awesome.
You have a special ability called bulldoze.
Yeah, exactly. Short-legged, muscular, quadrupedal marsupials of the family Vombatidae. They're native to Australia. The name wombat comes from the now nearly extinct Daharug language.
It
Spoken by
looks.
the. Go ahead.
I'll say it looks like a wolverine. That creature I'm talking about. I don't think it actually is one.
It's not the Tasmanian devil, right?
No.
It's small though. Not that's big.
Wolverine. Animal that looks like a skunk bears. Okay.
Is it the elephant shrew?
Nah. I'm gonna find it.
It's not a shrew, right?
Nah, that's true. Nah, it's like this big, man.
Oh, that big.
Yeah.
Oh man. We do have badgers. Sword and stones. He's talking about a creature that's really fast that people play with. A Pomeranian. We do not have any canine creatures.
Martin?
Martins are cool.
I feel like I'll recognize it when I see the name. But like I said, I've seen clips of them, and they just the goofiest looking things. But man, they just go.
A weasel, ferret.
A red panda.
Red pandas are cool. I think ferrets are cool looking too.
Yeah.
Weasels, stoats, mink.
That might be it.
European mink. Martin, mink, squirrel, Oh, we could put muskrats.
That might be it.
Ooh,
Maybe.
the mongoose.
That's not it.
Chinchilla. I'm just throwing stuff out there now. Well, people, you're gonna have to make a comment below for what you want us to vote for.
It is not a mink.
Not a mink. A weasel. Yeah, I'm not sure. You have to find one of those video clips.
Yep. I will, because I am getting nothing. So anyway, what do you guys want? Comments, and it saves the chat replay, so I'll be able to go through. Beavers are scary. I love wombats. I want a pet wombat.
What about an elephant shrew?
How big are those?
Fast.
Oh, they fast?
They're fast.
Wow. We are coming up on Jacob's time limit here, so that's a good place to end it. But we did cover everything. You can see where things are going. The next goal is to, like I said, really chisel away at the jobs and specializations, which is going to be very boring to watch, which is why we're going to do it offline, and we will have 2 weeks or 2 meetups offline before the next stream. Even though we're taking the stream off, we will still be working behind the scenes. Only furry critters, right? Yeah, well, ideally. I mean, so far they've all been furry. That's why when the armadillo suggestion came up, I was like, I guess we could technically.
I know. I definitely think a possum's a good idea.
Yeah, I like the possum.
We might just have to add the possum. We're also Peter. We're also talking about doing a
platypus. Yeah.
So
That's our blank slate species where you can just pick what you want.
Awesome.
Let's yeah, y'all keep throwing out suggestions on, or if it's post stream, put in the comments because I'll see them, and then if Lord willing, I remember in a week, I'll post a poll, say, hey, for our Moss and Stone thing, these are the top 4, because that's as many as I can do in a post. So
Michelle, if you're still listening, put that on the calendar to remind Scrat,
yeah.
my wonderful secretary.
And other than that, you got anything, Jacob?
Running games. That's it. Just lots of games.
Running games.
I'm actually running one in the library right after this.
Yeah.
So.
Are we gonna have enough to do like a test encounter next stream?
That is possible.
Show it in action. Have a little something to show.
If not our next stream, definitely the stream after that. I think we should do something like that. Maybe we can rope in Peter to join us for a little bit, huh?
Whoa.
That'd be cool. I know he's at work right now, but
who cares about work? He can get paid to roll some dice. we got to meet up with him at Gen Con. Take him out for some dinner. I think Saturday's his free day.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I'll go get drunk.
What? I don't do that.
Blaze is usually free at these times because Blaze doesn't sleep. I've been having to get onto him lately.
Blaze, I try the no sleep thing. It catches up.
It's true. At an early lunch.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, I am looking forward to getting on with this EZD6. We've been slowly touching it here and there, and I think it's gonna be nice for us to set aside some time and just start really pushing into it. So
yeah, this project was supposed to be smaller, and it was just a test run to see how well we work together. And I think we are working together, but at the same we're working together. We're working well together. But we have also learned some ways we could have done this better, like leaving everything on the board instead of constantly taking it down and different software and all that. So, learning process. So the next one will be even smoother.
Our software has definitely changed multiple times.
It has. And that one's on me. I'm very bad about jumping from software to software, trying to find the perfect thing. So
there's a lot of options out there, though, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Choice paralysis or whatever they call it.
That's what happened to us.
And a little disorganized brain. Because I had an idea. I was like, well, we'll start here, and then we clean the board, put it in OneNote, and then I jumped into Word too soon, trying to make stuff a little more officialized. So, whatever.
It's all good. Hey, it's working out just fine. We had so much spaghetti we had to put on multiple plates, okay? No.
That's what happened.
That's part of the viewers' fault because you guys are awesome. Awesome. All right, cool.
Yeah. All right. We will see y'all not next week, but the week after.
Looking forward to it, guys. Thank you all for being part of this, and we'll see you guys soon.
All right. Pushing the button.
All right, guys. Goodbye.